Hey folks, today I wanted to show you a couple of more advanced concepts related to computer programming that we will need to complete our simulation regarding sports cards. So first, a quick reminder. We're going to be using randomness in our program, and in order to do that, we're going to import the random library for the Python code that we're about to write. I put a note here that before I begin with the advanced stuff, I want to give you a quick review of some concepts that we discussed in earlier videos. We're going to take a quick look at the for loop in Python code. And here is the construct for the for loop. We say something like for x in range 1 comma max trials, where we can set max trials to any number we want. Max trials is a variable, and we just happen to set it with the value of 10 for right now. Now, something that I didn't mention the last time we were looking at the code is why is this X here? If you'll know, if you think back to the code that we ran in the past, we didn't ever do anything with X. At least not when we were working with these for loops. So anyways, I'm gonna real quickly throw in what happens with the X in just a second. But first, I'm gonna remind you that we were pretending like we were buying boxes of cereal, and when we bought those boxes of cereal, we would randomly get a prize numbered from 0 through 9. And then we would check to see which prize we got, and then we would have some kind of acknowledgement, like we got Serena, or we got LeBron, or we got Danica. So anyways, so I have a small, shorter version of that just to remind you of all that. And if I ran this code, what would happen is this for loop would go about 10 times. Now, if you recall the last time we did this, I think there was an issue of maybe what does this second number do here? Like how many times is this loop really going to go? Is the loop going to go 10 times or is it going to go a different number? So just for the heck of it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take care of a couple of things. One, I'm going to go ahead and put a print statement for what X is. So let's see what happens when I run this code. So here we go. So the first thing that I see, oh, it doesn't like something about box. What's the problem here? I'm going to have to fix this code up. Just one sec. Oh, okay. I just remembered that when I want to print a string of letters or characters alongside an actual value of a variable, I have to convert that value, that numeric value for the variable, into a string of characters. And we do that like this. I say string whatever the variable name is. So that lets me run. So when I go to run the code, we can see that it looks like the loop is really only going through here 9 times all total. And maybe let me go ahead and see if I can get rid of that if statement for now so that we can get that at the end of the loop. So we can see, yeah, it looks like we're looping 9 times. And again, for those of you who are wondering what's happening with the X, we didn't use it last time, but X does have a value, and it starts at 1 and it ends at something. Now, clearly it doesn't end at max trials. So there is something about that I'm going to have to look up and give you a better explanation for. I'm going to go ahead and look at the for command in Python. So Python for command. Let's see if it has some explanation for us. By the way, this is how I do a lot of my coding. I try not to memorize every little detail of every type of program that I run. I've programmed in many programming languages over time, and it's really easy to get them mixed up. So I give myself I allow myself to look things up as necessary. And fortunately, there's a ton of good information out there. Okay, let me see if I can read through this real quick, and I'll get you the interpretation of how that last number works. Let's figure out what's going on. Okay, so I decided to go and do a different Google search, and I looked for Python X in range, and when I did, this very first option that came up seems to explain what's going on. It says when you use the range parameter, what happens is when you get the number that you give, the second number that you give, there's a start number and there's a stop number. the stop number, you're going to generate numbers up to this particular number, but not including this number. So that to me is a little bit strange. Not all programming languages work that way, but in this particular one, if we say 4x in range, 1 through 10, then we, as soon as we get to 10, we stop. We do not go through the loop the 10th time. Okay, so that makes me a little bit happier. So let's continue on. So now we know this thing can run 10 times, and we know that x keeps getting to be a higher and higher value. Now let's go and let's bring our let's check to see what values of box we got as we run through this. And by the way, I could do this. I can show what value of box we get every time through the loop. Let's go ahead and hit run and see that. So as we go through the loop, there it is. There are all the different values of box, and none of them are 3, and therefore we never print box equals some number. Let's see here. I think I probably don't even need this, because if I'm checking to see if box equals 3, then I don't need to say box equals some value of box. I know it's 3, so I'm just going to say box equals 3. So if we ever get to box equals 3, we'll print box equals 3. So let's go ahead and hit run. So no box equals 3s, but when we do get to a box equals 3, we print the box number and then we print box equals 3. Yay. Okay, so anyways, just a quick refresher on how the for loop works. It goes round and round, it repeats over and over again. And also a quick refresher on how the if statement works, which is also known as a conditional or branching type of statement in computer programming. The for statement is known as a looping statement. Anyways, so if box equals 3, then we will print box equals 3. So there we go. So another quick thing I'd like to review with you is another kind of loop known as the while loop. And for the while loop, it looks something like this. We basically say do something while such and such is true. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a kind of interesting way of thinking about this. We're going to look at what happens. I'm going to go ahead and have a variable called done. And I'm going to set it to 0, which means we are not done. 0 in computer language tends to mean false, and 1 tends to mean true. And we're looking for something that we want to do this loop while done is not true. So the problem is the while loop keeps going while something is true. So we're going to go ahead and instead of saying while done, which would stop the loop immediately, and by the way, let me go ahead and let me clear this. Let me go ahead and run this guy. This loop should never run if I'm not mistaken. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Run. Yeah, nothing happens. I'm not printing box. I'm not printing box equals 3. So how can we make it so the loop ever runs? Well, we're going to say print while not done. Now, this is a little pre-introduction for you guys for the logic that we're going to use when we're working with probability, and that's coming up very soon. In probability, sometimes we will say we are looking at the probability of something not happening, and it's very closely related to this right here. Basically, this not makes this done, which is currently false because it's a 0. The not makes it true. So basically, we're going to keep doing this while not done. Now, the only problem with writing the code this way is that this loop will run forever. It's known as an infinite loop. So I have to have some way to stop this guy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this guy when we finally get a box of cereal that has a prize number 3 in it, whatever that is. So I'm going to go ahead and add done equals 1. Oops, done equals 1. So that'll mean done is true. So what'll happen is this loop will keep going, and we'll keep getting a new box of cereal. But when we get a box that has a 3 in it, a prize of 3 in it, then we can go ahead and set done equal to true, and then we can no longer continue looping because we will not loop while not done. So let's go ahead and see if I'm right. Let's see how this works. And by the way, I'm hopeful that when you see the result, you think to yourself, wow, that's like magic. Because it kind of is. Because one of the reasons why I've changed to the while loop is because sometimes we don't know how many times we need to loop. The for loop is really good when you know exactly how many times you want to loop. The while is better when you're not sure how long you want to loop. Okay, so let's take a look and see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and hit run. And when I do, I can see that I had to buy a whole bunch of boxes of cereal until I finally got a 3. I'm going to hit run again, and it looks like a different number of boxes of cereal. Let me try again. Ooh, that time I only had to buy one box, and boom, I got the one with the 3 in it. And that time I had to buy many boxes before I got a 3. Okay, so this using this while loop is kind of cool. One other thing that I might like is I might like to count the number of boxes that I had to buy, because I don't want to count this number right there. So I'm going to go ahead and make a variable called count. And what will happen is every time I buy a box of cereal, I'm gonna increase the value of count. So count will equal whatever the value was before plus 1. Now, what was the value before? Well, we got to initialize the value of count with something. So I'm going to say initially we have not bought any boxes of cereal. So I'm going to say initially count equals 0. So here we go. So we are now at count equals 0. And let's buy a bunch of boxes and let's see. Oh, the other thing is I might like to know how many boxes I bought. So I'm going to say print, and here we will go count equals space, and this time I would like to know what the value of the variable count is. So I'll do plus str. I'll make the value of the variable count into a string of characters, and so we'll do that. And that should do it. Let's go ahead and run the code. And now I can see that I had to buy 11 boxes of cereal, and we'll run the code again. I had to buy 10 boxes of cereal, run the code again. I only had to buy 2 boxes of cereal. I hope you're beginning to think this is kind of neat. Now, so far everything that I'm showing you is just kind of a review of some stuff we've seen before with maybe a little bit extra. Let me go ahead and show you some new advanced things that we're going to need to complete our sports card simulation and make it so that it does everything that you did when you ran the sports card simulation manually using the random digit table.